Hello everyone, welcome back to Bag Only, the Bag Only Ultimate Ironman account, not using any inventory enhancing containers or stash units or death piles or construction storage or any of that garbage, whatever. Welcome back. Last time we became an honorary Fremenic and we unlocked fairy rings, so we're back in the game. Today's goal, we're going to work on a little bit of Corrend-based stuff, a little bit of favour, some quests, some gains like that, so that's cool. Just in between the clips, just went and got our Ardy cloak back, so obviously at the end we did lose all our combat items, so we lost our cloak and our rune skin. We're just headed to Zeah. We've got a few sneaky shenanigans to get up to, so let's get into it. So what I'd like to do is complete the easy Corrend diary as soon as possible. Obviously we get our classic XP lamp that we get from any easy diary, but we also get a blessing that we can equip, which will give us 3 daily teleports over to Corrend, and also a small chance of receiving double fish if we decide to go fishing. So it's a really useful item for us to pick up. In the meantime, we're going to be working on as many Corrend favours as we can to 100%. Basically in Corrend there are these 5 different houses that you can do tasks for. In doing this you unlock a bunch of activities that you can do on your account, and a bunch of cool rewards. For example, new spellbooks, means to craft runes, teletabs, new shops, new mini-games, a farming patch that doesn't get diseased, so much useful stuff. So we're just going to make a little start on working on those as soon as possible. As ever with this account, unlocks are more important than items, so unlocking all these cool new methods and places to tally to is really going to help us in the long run. Just going to start off by praying in the castle in the centre of Corrend here, just because it's an easy task and it's kind of on our way. Then we're going to scoot over here to Shazian and start our little Corrend favour grind over here. This one's quite easy. All you have to do is pick up these health packs and use them on these wounded soldiers. You can just run in between all these houses. There's health packs outside each one. And you just basically do a bit of clicking, get our favour up here. So we're going to heal enough guys here just to get ourselves up to 30% favour. Once you hit 20%, you unlock a quest for the particular house that you're doing, and completing the quest awards you with an additional 10% favour. So if we stop here at 30, we'll unlock a quest. If we do the quest, then we'll get to 40. And then from 40 onwards we can do other activities such as tackling organised crime, which is a multi-way combat activity that we can't really do at the minute. So if we just come back here after we get protection prayers, do a couple of those, then we'll easily get to 100%. Additionally, we can go fight lizard men, which we'll want to do one day, get ourselves the Xerix amulet, which is a drop from those. Again, we won't do those now, just because you have a double chance of getting the Xerix amulet drop if you go do them after you complete the easy diary. So we'll do that later. Maybe not today, but another day. So after 30% over here in Shazian, we ran up to Piscarilius, one of the other houses. So with our little starter favour, we could start and complete the Queen of Thieves quest, which takes place under Piscarilius. Really easy, just a lot of walking around. While we were doing that, we also browsed the general store here in the sewers, which is an additional task for the easy diary. Completing the Queen of Thieves gave us some thieving XP and obviously a 10% favour certificate. Additionally, these quests reward you a page from the teleport book from Client of Corrend. So we ran back over to Vios at the dock and just reclaimed that and put the teleport page inside. Using this now, we can teleport up to Piscarilius, which is really helpful. And every other subsequent house-based quest we complete will give us one more teleport location and some extra charges for the book. So we popped our new teleport page into our book, and then we ran up to the Arceus house of Corrend. Arceus is a really easy one. There's an activity where you find lost library books in this grand library and turn them in. There's a plugin for this, obviously. It tells you the potential locations where they can be, so it makes it really quick and easy. There's no combat, you don't take any damage, it's just a case of walking and clicking, and each one you do gives you a substantial amount of favour, so it's not that many book turn-ins to go from 0 all the way to 100%. Of course, we could have stopped on 90% and completed the quest to get the last 10, but handing in these library books does give you some XP books that you can use on either Mage or Runecraft, so I did do this all the way to 100 just to get a few extra XP books along the way. It may seem strange, but we did actually put all these books into Mage rather than Runecraft, which is the other option. Nowadays it does seem like Runecraft's really easy to train, whereas Magic will cost us a lot of money in runes, so I actually just put all of them into Mage. We started the library on 46 Mage, and once we hit 100% favour using the books, we also got our Mage to 49, so 3 levels there, and also turning in at least one book is an easy task for the diary. So 2 birds, 1 stone. With our Arceus favour up past 20%, obviously it's 100% now, we could complete the Ascent of Arceus quest. If you remember in previous episodes, we got our Hunter up to 12 specifically, so we could do this, as there is a 12 Hunter requirement. There's just a part in this quest where you have to track down a zombie by following its footprints like a tracker. So we completed this quest and it awarded us with Hunter XP all the way up to 16. And of course we got the Arceus teleport page for our book, and we could also speak to the Arceus Architect, which is required for the Architectural Alliance mini-quest. Architectural Alliance is just a mini-quest where every time you get a house to 100%, you can speak to their respective NPC. Once you have all the favours to 100% and all the architects involved, then the statue is completed and you're simply rewarded a few XP lamps. So that'll be really nice to work towards while we're doing things over here. With Arceus out of the way and our Hunter up to 16 from that quest reward, we now now had the level to dig for sandworms over on the Piscarilius beach. This is a fairly relaxing and fun method to increase your Piscarilius favour, plus it's kind of a real start on hunter training. Obviously we had just done the Queen of Thieves quest, so we already had around 30%, so doing this all the way up to 100% didn't take too long, and it did get our hunter level from 16 all the way to 21, which was really nice. And of course this allowed us to talk to the Piscarilius Architect for Architectural Alliance. Third was Hosidius. With 5% favour, we're able to create saltpeter fertilizer in order to get our favour up even higher. We did a couple of trips of this, but actually it was really painful. I expected it to be easier because on any account that's not an Ultimate Ironman, where you have access to a bank, it's a far easier method to get your favour up than it is for us. Because what you can do is right here, there's a farming shop right next to a bank, so you can buy regular compost here and bank it. You can head to the saltpeter mines, and there's a bank deposit box over there, so you can fill your inventory, bank deposit all repeatedly. Then you can just jump over to a bank, withdraw 14 saltpeter and 14 compost, put them all together, and all you would have to do on a normal account is just go speak to a woman, and she'll take all the fertilizer out of your bank directly in one trip. Even quicker for a non-iron account where you can buy saltpeter off the GE for a couple of coins a piece. So we did a couple of trips, we got our favour up to 12.4% doing this before I decided to just completely give up. So I just AFK'd at the plows instead, and they do still give you a tiny bit of farming XP and a little bit of crafting XP. And then I continued to just AFK while doing other stuff all the way up to 90% favour from doing these plows, at which point we hit 22 farming, which was really nice. So with our Hosidius favour now above 15%, we had access to the Hosidius fruit stalls, which are a thieving method available from 25 thieving and above. It's a really good method. It's a stall quite similar to the cake stall in Ardy. If you do it inside this particular house, then no guards can catch you. So it's a nice, consistent and relatively fast thieving method at our level. So we did a bunch of that from 41 thieving all the way up to 46. The reason we went for 46 is because we can unlock the Chaos Druid Tower near Ardy. So now when we need to go do Chaos Druids, we don't need to go all the way to Tavley Dungeon and run through, and we can just walk up from Ardy and open a door. So that's really helpful next time we need herbs. Additionally, thieving from this stall gives you a chance to get a strange fruit, so we kept all the ones that we got, because eating these just gives you a burst of run energy back. So we kept these just to use while questing. So next up was the Depths of Despair quest, the Hosidius Favour quest. Since we were 90%, this quest would push us over the 100% threshold and complete this third house. So I just ran to Varrock to buy some combat runes, and then we ran back to Korend. We did have to detour to the Arceus library to find a particular book. If I'd known, I'd have kept the book from when we were doing the Arceus activity, but no big deal. In this quest, someone's child is lost or something, they're in a cave. So we go seek them out. While inside the Crabclaw cave, we did decide to kill a single crab just for the easy diary. We didn't bring any food to do this boss, but it turned out fine. It was a relatively low level, we just maged the thing. Then we ran back to Hosidius, turned in the quest, and got our 100% Hosidius favour. So of course that gave us a third teleport for our teleport book, and of course we could talk to a third architect for the Architectural Alliance mini-quest. So by this point, 3 out of the 5 houses were at 100% favour. Shazian we'd left at 30% to come back to later once we have combat gear and protection prayers, and the 5th house being Lovakenge we haven't started at all because you need 42 mining at least to even make a start on the single activity that you can do. Just checking on our Korend Easy Diary at this stage, all we had left was a couple of tasks, so I briefly left Korend to pick up some supplies for these. We headed to Port Sarim for some feathers and a fly fishing rod, as we'd have to do a little bit of fly fishing near the farming guild for a single task, and additionally we went to Lumbridge and picked up the free bronze pick on top of the castle, because we had to mine a single iron ore for the Easy Diary as well. So we fairy ringed over to Korend near the farming guild. We ran up this mountain near the Konar Slayer Master and mined a single iron for an easy task, then ran down the mountain to this river near the farming guild and fished ourselves a single fish for another easy task. Our final 2 tasks for the Korend Easy Diary were to create a strength potion inside a pub, and also to move our house over to Hosidius and enter through the Hosidius house portal. So for our strength potion task, I headed to our newly unlocked Chaos Druid Tower, killed enough Chaos Druids to get ourselves a single Taramin for a strength pot, then sailed over to Rimington, killed enough Hobgoblins till we got a single Limpwort root just as our secondary. Didn't get a vial of water from the druids, so I headed to the Tavley Druid shop to pick one up. Then we teleported back to Korend, ran all the way to the Lovakenge pub here up the top, and created our strength potion inside to complete that easy task. For the house portal task, we did in fact need 25 construction in order to move our house over to Zeah, and we'd also need a little bit of GP to pay to move our house. So in an effort to save money, I went over to Barbarian Assault with our minigames telly, where there's free plank spawns on the ground, hopped a few worlds to grab some planks, and then we headed over to the Varrock sawmill using our Chronicle in order to buy some nails from the sawmill shop. It's really frustrating because this shop's always bought out by bots and Jagex can't do anything about it, so you have to hop a whole bunch just to buy the couple that are left and are still overpriced. So we did some construction. In the meantime, I juggled some clay that I mined outside the Rimington house portal just at the Rimington mine, turned these into soft clays with a bucket and the well here. Just wanted to create the wooden shelves 3 that we had the level for in our kitchen. By using these shelves, you can create a cup of tea that temporarily gives you a +2 construction boost that we might need in future. Additionally, we upgraded our workbench into a Clockmaker's Bench 2 by bringing a single molten glass. This is really big for the account because this table allows you to create clockwork out of steel bars. And obviously you need clockwork to do birdhouse runs. Every time you do a birdhouse run, you get your old clockwork back. Birdhouses work by bringing 1 clockwork, 1 log that you have the level to craft, and 10 seeds over to Fossil Island, building a birdhouse and then filling it with seeds. You wait 45 minutes or so, go back, and you can check the birdhouse for a nice chunk of Hunter XP. Like I say, you retrieve your clockwork back, so next time all you need to do is bring logs and seeds, and of course a hammer and chisel. So it was really good now we finally had the bench in our house to start doing birdhouse runs, as we did have Fossil Island unlocked from a previous episode. I'll definitely be doing as many birdhouse runs as I possibly can in between clips, which will in turn give us access to quests in future, but possibly more importantly higher tiers of implings in Poro Poro. Anyway, with our construction up to 25, we went to the Varrock estate agent on the way just to move our house to Hesidius so we'd be able to complete our Corrend Easy Diary. Took our oak birdhouses over to Fossil Island and did our first birdhouse run. Went back to Zeah and entered our POH through the Hesidius portal, completing the easy tier of the Kebos Corrend Diary. I turned this in at the castle to get our Rada's Blessing 1, and of course that nice easy lamp. And with the Corrend Diary out the way and the lamp used on something, sorry can't remember, grabbed ourselves an Irrit leaf from somewhere along the way, again can't remember, sorry. But we went to the Lumbridge basement to grab a bucket of milk, and then we scooted over to Portstream just to get a raw sardine from the fish shop, just because we'd go do Gertrude's cat next. Gertrude's cat's really good because it unlocks a bunch of quests because you need a cat with you to do a couple of the quests in this game. So we scooted to Gertrude's house, we grabbed a Dougal leaf because you also need one of those, they just spawn on the floor outside. Also there's this strange door here, I don't know if any of you have ever seen this in game, but it's interactable but doesn't actually work, it's just leaned up against the back of the house as a troll. So I've never seen that before, but that's interesting. Anyway, yeah, we started Gertrude's cat because we wanted ourselves a nice cat to unlock some quests. So we rubbed this leaf over our sardine, and then we headed into Varrock. While here I thought I'd do the Varrock Easy Diary because it's quite simple, not really very many requirements. So we talked to the kid to progress the quest, and then we talked to the newspaper seller right next to him just to buy a newspaper because that's a task. Ran down just near this clay mine here at the Champions Guild to grab a clay for later, turn that into a soft clay because we'd have to go make a bowl after the quest. Just ran down here between the fence between Varrock and Lumbridge, hopped over the fence for another diary task. It's just a really low level agility thing. I think it's like 7 agi or something. Following that, we ran up to mine an iron in the east mine, just dropped it on the ground. Again, it's a task just to mine a single iron, and it was on our way to the lumberyard here for the quest. Chopping down a tree inside the lumberyard is another easy task, so we did that on the way. And then we ran up this ladder, found ourselves the cat, and we gave it some dinner. Our bucket of milk and our seasoned sardine was all it took. And then we ran down the ladder here just to look for its lost kitten in one of these crates. Obviously, it's always in the last place you look. So we went back up, reunited the cat with its kittens, and it ran back to Gertrude's house all happy. Really quick quest, so we just teleport back with our chronicle that puts us real close to Gertrude up here, and turned in the quest. We received her thanks, we received a baby kitten of our own, a chocolate cake, and some cooking XP, so really nice. After this, we just scooted across the bridge to the barbarian village with our soft clay, we spun it into an unfired bowl on this wheel, and then we just put the unfired bowl into the furnace here just to make a bowl. And that's the whole Varrock diary complete, so once again we just chronicle tallied back to Varrock, and we ran up to the diary guy here in the middle of town. The rewards for this easy diary are some Varrock armor, which gives you some mining and smelting boosts, but we didn't hang on to this because we can reclaim it later if we do decide to do either of those activities, and of course we get an antique lamp worth 2500 XP in any skill above 30. We just immediately pop the XP lamp into Runecraft since that's already over 30. I would much prefer to put these into Herblore, but our Herblore's so far from 30 at this point, and I can't justify carrying the lamps around in our invent this whole time. Speaking of Herblore, our next stop was the Jungle Potion quest. I do want to eventually do the Tybur One-Eye Trio quest because that unlocks some nice things for your account, for example fishing your own Karambwans, but to do that you do have to do Jungle Potion first. So we ran to Karamja, bought an antidote from this general store here just in case any poison spiders tagged us on the way, and we gathered a few jungle herbs for a strange man. Again, on the way round, I tried to do as many Karamja diary tasks as I could remember existing. After the first herb here, we picked up and dropped 1 seaweed for the task where you have to pick up 5 seaweed round Karamja. And on our way to pick up one of the other quest herbs inside this Joga dungeon, we killed a Joga, for another easy task. Completing Jungle Potion gave us 20 herb lore, which is really nice. We couldn't fully complete the Karamja Easy Diary at this point because one of the steps does require you to mine some gold ore, which does require 40 mining, which we don't yet have. So instead I made a detour over to Kandarin to attempt to do some Kandarin Easy Diary tasks. On the way north of Ardi, we pickpocketed some master farmers to grab some jute seeds, as one of the Kandarin tasks is to plant some jute in the hops patch just north of Sears village. Once we had these, we passed by Sherlock on our way and spoke to him for another task, recharged our prayer inside the Sears village church, bought a stew from the pub, and finally planted our jute seeds. Wasn't worried about protecting or composting these, as the plant doesn't need to survive for the diary requirement, you only need to plant the seeds. We ran over to Catherby, purchased a candle from the candle store for another task, and since we already had some farming equipment on us since we just did this jute seed task, we teleported over to Hersidius and we did our first farm run since we had some seeds from the master farmers anyway. After this I dashed over to do another birdhouse run on Fossil Island. This pushed us up to 23 Hunter and we got 1 egg to turn in at the Woodcutting Guild for the prayer XP. Of course we now have access to the Woodcutting Guild as we've had the woodcutting level for a long time, but now we also have the Hersidius favour required to get inside. So as I mentioned in previous episodes, I do want to do the Dorgashan quest line, as it's really helpful, gets you a bunch of cool unlocks, and it's one of my favourite quests in the game. We headed to Lumbridge and started the Lost Tribe. Basically requires you to run around Lumbridge and talk to a bunch of NPCs about whether they've seen goblins. Eventually you head to the castle basement and you find yourself a brooch. We learn from Reldo in Varrock Castle that this brooch is of goblin origin, so you head to Goblin Village, talk to them about it, and you learn some new emotes. Once again on the way round I decided to look at the Falador diary instead this time since we were near Falador, bearing in mind we'd run into a mine talisman in previous episodes and completed the step where you have to make a mine tiara from scratch. So with that out of the way, the other Falador tasks didn't seem too difficult. I pickpocketed a few coins from guards, as at this point it cost 2,000 to get a haircut, and just outside the hairdressers I filled a bucket with water just for another task. We went inside the castle, learned about our family crest from this NPC, went underneath Falador and repaired a Motherlode mine wheel for some smithing XP and another task. And that was it, we claimed our Falador Easy Lamp and this shield. The Falador shield you get from the Fally Diary is kind of rubbish, it's probably the worst diary reward, there's no teleport on it or anything, so we just dropped it on the floor and kept the lamp. So with the Goblin greetings learned from Goblin Village and a light source on us, we headed back to Lumbridge, navigated the caves underneath the castle, with this massive blue line from Quest Helper, and we met the friendly goblins below. Once you establish contact with this tribe, you can head back to the castle to organise a meeting. On the way, however, we learn that Sigmund is a dastardly Ham member, so to prove his guilt we have to nip into the Ham hideout real quick, and find that he's stolen and stashed the castle silverware in this crate. After we snitch on him to the Lord of Lumbridge, we unite the goblin tribes with the people of Lumbridge as allies, and we complete the quest. Just as a side note here, we do keep the few pieces of ham gear that we find from Sigmund's bedroom, as we will need 2 entire sets of the ham outfit in order to do the Death to the Dorgashan quest after this, and keeping these 3 pieces will make a small dent into having to pickpocket those instead. Completing the Lost Tribe got our mining all the way up to 36, getting closer to the 40 we need for the Karamja Diary, and we have access to the Dorgashan mines under the Lumbridge Castle, where we can purchase bone weapons. It's a really popular Ironman range training method, as the ammo's super cheap and it's reasonable DPS. Next up would be Death to the Dorgashan. Unfortunately you can't complete this quest with a pet following you, and I didn't really want to abandon our cat, so we'd have to wait the full 3 hours for our cat to grow up so we could turn it in. In order to kill some time, I ran south of Lumbridge and completed a self-contained quest called Mistalin Mystery. It's a pretty boring but quick quest, rewards you with a tiny bit of crafting XP and a few gems. Sadly this didn't kill very much time at all, so I ran up to Edgefield to kill some ice fiends on Ice Mountain. As you can see I'm just bonking them in ham robes, clearly the max efficiency way to do a Slayer task. While I was here I headed down into the Dwarven Mine just to buy an adamant pickaxe. They're not very expensive. And then I decided to do another birdhouse run, so I purchased some seeds, got ourselves some willow logs and went and did that. We still had 40 plus minutes to kill for our cat to be ready, so while I was already on Fossil Island and I brought this pick, I decided to go mine iron just here and drop it on the ground. Power mining iron's a relatively popular way to level mining quickly. I stayed here till 41 as we needed level 40 for the Karamja Diary, and going that 1 extra level would allow us to equip a rune pick in future. To kill a little bit more time, we headed over to Karamja to complete some more tasks. We headed to a bridge near this fairy ring and crossed that for a task. We went over to the Tazar area and we entered and exited the fight cave. And we also had to catch a fish off this pier on Musa Point. We didn't have any fishing tools with us, but since we'd already done the barbarian fishing training, we could barehand a tuna and that counted for the task. Like I said, that was a really nice unlock to have in case we'd ever need it in future. We swung across this rope to a small island of moss giants for another task, and finally we mined the single gold ore that we'd need for our final task. Sadly, the lamp from the Karamja diary is only 1000 XP instead of the usual 2.5k. I still put this in herb lore, and that got us up to level 22. And we just ditched the Karamja gloves because once again there's no teleport on those. They have worse stats than our recipe for disaster gloves, and we can always reclaim them later. I had planned to keep some gold to make some emerald gold bracelets to sell for money, but I forgot that we actually lack the 40 smithing to turn the gold ore into bars. Anyway, eventually our cat was grown up so we could turn it in. After this I headed to the ham hideout. Like I said before, we had to pickpocket 2 full sets of the ham outfits. I made sure though to start the quest before this, as being on the quest gives you a much better chance of finding outfit pieces than being off the quest. Then with a disguise for ourselves and Zanik the Goblin, we took her around Lumbridge on a world tour, and eventually went to meet the snake near Tears of Guthix. Sadly we can't do Tears of Guthix ourselves yet because we need 49 firemaking to set fire to a sapphire lantern, and we're currently only 35. Anyway, we infiltrate the ham storerooms and eliminate the guards in this Metal Gear Solid style segment. Doing this unlocks the ham storeroom activity later. You can come back here off the quest and steal keys for the chests in here, and you can get a whole bunch of easy jewellery, much easier than smithing your own. We'll definitely come back here a bunch in future. So Zanik's killed and we take her to be revived, because apparently plot armor's a thing in this game, and then we go take our revenge on Sigmund. After smacking him with some magic, he escapes, but we can deal with him in a future quest. But it's quest complete regardless, and we've unlocked ourselves the city of Dorgish Khan. There's a whole bunch of cool stuff we can do there, but we won't worry about it right now. There's a bunch of different places where we can get bullseye lanterns inside, and like I said before, with the appropriate level to swap the lens with a sapphire and light the lantern, we can go do the Tears of Guthix quest in a bit. So with Death to the Dorgishan complete, we went to try out the ham storerooms. I made sure to pick up our Lumbridge ring first, as this gives you 30 casts of low alchemy for free each day, and having this on us would allow us to turn 30 pieces of jewellery that we loot straight into coins without having to leave. So what you do is you pickpocket the guards specifically inside this room. Sometimes you get keys in addition to the normal ham drops, and you use these keys to loot the chests inside. This will be a lot faster and easier later once we have access to a lockpick, either from imps in Poro Poro or the shop you unlock with 50 thieving. Once we'd used all 30 of our alchemy charges, we simply sold the rest of our jewellery to the jewellery shop in Port Sarim, but we kept the jewellery pieces we'd need for a dueling ring, a game's neck and a dig site pendant. We bought the relevant runes to turn all this jewellery into the enchanted teleport form, and then we headed once again to Fossil Island. While doing our birdhouse run, I headed to the house in the middle of the island. Once in here, you can use your dig site pendant on this thing, and that grants you a new teleport location for any future dig site pendants. So to do future birdhouse runs etc, it'll be a lot faster because we can teleport straight here. So after some time chilling, using magic spells on crabs, we headed to Berthorpe to pick up a brand new Slayer task from Terrail. We still haven't completed the 5 beginner tasks in order to start earning Slayer points, and sadly he assigned us 40 something dogs, which is quite a slow task comparatively. Then we zipped over back to Gertrude to get a new kitten to be raising while we're doing other things. We're relatively low on cash at this point, so I did decide to go to Polnavich and attempt to try blackjacking out. Sadly, the best food you can buy in town is just cheese and tomatoes from this food stall. It didn't really matter because I quickly found out that blackjacking is really rubbish, and anybody who enjoys blackjacking is clearly While in the desert experimenting anyway, I zipped over to the agility pyramid and saw what that was like at our current agility level. I grabbed 2 pyramid tops in total. At our current agility level, it's not really worth doing. It is good money per hour, but it's not good XP as you do fail quite a lot. So we got ourselves 20k coins and then went to do other stuff. Since we were in the desert near Al-Kharid anyway, I decided to do the new smithing quest called Sleeping Giants that unlocks the Giants Foundry minigame. Just a wool from Lumbridge sheep, 3 oak logs, some nails, a hammer, chisel and a bucket of water. It's a very, very easy quest, you just have to make 1 quick sword. It serves as a tutorial, but dissimilar to the Guardians of the Rift tutorial, this quest isn't like 15 minutes long, so that was kinda nice. One small issue you have here is that you have to open a crate that contains 20 items at once, but you only need to make the inventory space for these for literally a couple of seconds, so you can just drop stuff next to the crate, empty the crate, and then put all the items into the furnace thing here, and then just dash back and grab your stuff. You'd only really be at risk of losing anything if you somehow disconnected here. Completing this quest pushed us all the way up to level 40 smithing, which is really, really huge. This allows us to smelt the gold ore that we can now mine into gold bars, and we'll be able to turn that into all kinds of jewellery going forward. Additionally, we've unlocked the ability to come back here and use this forge to play the minigame, which may be useful later down the line. Anyway, following this, I grabbed enough supplies to do 2 birdhouse runs at once, and enough materials to fletch ourselves 1000 bronze arrows. So we'd go to Fossil Island, do 2 full birdhouse runs, and we'll just range crabs with these bronze arrows to get some cheeky ranged XP. Be nice to get our ranged up a little bit, as like I say, we now have access to the bone crossbow with 28 range. And that's our first half-decent range weapon on the account. So I just went and raised cats, shot some crabs, and did birdhouse runs. So we used up all our arrows there on the crabs on Fossil Island. In the meantime, I decided to throw that Falador diary lamp into crafting, as this would get us up to exactly 42 crafting. 42 being the level required to blow glass into fish bowls, which we needed for at least 2 different things. With fish bowls, we can of course fill them with water and seaweed and then get a pet fish to do the last task for our Kandarin diary that we started before. And also we need a fish bowl in order to create a diving helmet to do Recipe for Disaster Pirate Pete. Went to grab the rest of the stuff for the Pirate Pete quest. Off camera, I fished 2 cod. We ran over to the jungle store just on Karamja and bought the 3 bronze bars required to make 3 bronze wire. Fairy ringed over to Karamja, grabbed a seaweed off the ground, filled one of our fish bowls with water and seaweed. Unfortunately, we couldn't dive into the ocean to do the Pirate Pete quest because once again we had a cat following us. It only had 45 minutes left of the 3 hours required to fully grow, so I did decide to just wait this out and go do other things. So we did go to Pirate Pete and handed in as much of the stuff for the quest as we could, just to free up some invent space. We could give him the wire, the needle, the fishbowl, etc., and he could turn those into the diving apparatus for us. Then we chartered up to Catherby, we went to the fish shop, spoke to Harry here, and we paid just to scoop a fish out of his little aquarium to pop in our fully filled fishbowl, and that was the last thing for the Kandarin diary. So we ran up to the wedge, we turned in the Kandarin Easy diary. He gives us the Kandarin Helm 1, which is a fantastic diary item. There's no teleports on it. It gives you like double regular logs or something useless. But the main thing is it's a reclaimable light source that can't be extinguished. So anytime we're in Lumbridge and we need to go down to the goblin bit in the basement or through the swamp caves, we can just buy an unlimited light source in Lumbridge for 200 coins from Purdue. So as you can see with this diary helm on hand, we went to just quickly do a farm run in Hesidius just cause, you know, we had some time to kill for our cat. Got a few Marantil herbs, tiny bit of farming XP because we just planted whatever garbage seeds we had at the time. Then what I tried to do was run over to the Varrock Museum with this 1 fossil that I'd kept from the crabs. Put on the gear, obviously turned the fossil into a usable one, went downstairs and tried to put it in one of the displays. It was at this point I found out that you need a full display's worth of fossils on you at once in order to turn any in. So if we ever wanted to complete any fossil displays in future, we'd have to stay on Fossil Island until we had at least 5 of a single type of fossil. I guess that's another little challenge, so that's okay. We had a little bit more time to kill, and I wanted to get ourselves 50 thieving. We were quite close. Obviously 50 thieving, like I mentioned before, will unlock a shop that allows us to buy lockpicks in Burthorpe, as well as being another general store that we can sell items to at a good price. So after this, our cat was finished, so we sold it for some death runes, then we returned to Pirate Pete. We dived into the ocean, we did his underwater shenanigans down there. You have to drop enough items so you're below a certain threshold of weight. Then once you're down there, you need to kill 5 of these mud skipper fish things, and then you turn in the meat to this troll guy who's underwater, and in return he lets you inside his crab enclosure to take some crab meat. And then with the crab meat, the cod we fished, and the bread we got from the cake stall before I started these clips, we mixed these all together with a knife and a pestle and mortar in order to create 2 fish cakes with help of the chef in Lumbridge. I brought enough materials for 2 just in case you do burn one, but our cooking's not a terrible level, it's something like 40 or 50 at the minute, so we did in fact cook both successfully. So I turned one into the Frozen Pirate Pete in Lumbridge Castle to complete the subquest, and I just ate the second one. With another RFD subquest down, it does mean that we can now upgrade to steel gloves from our iron gloves, so just some more stats in everything, and we can always buy those back from Lumbridge, so it's a nice pair of gloves to have unlocked on the account. After RFD Pirate Pete, I decided to go to the Enchanted Valley area, only accessible through fairy rings. We used some of our death runes from cats just to safe spot some tree spirits in an attempt to get a rune axe. We didn't manage to pull the rune this time, but we did get 5 myth axes and an adamant axe, so I decided to just stick on the addy axe, and we dipped. The reason I wanted a good axe is because we want to get our fire making up now so we can do that Tears of Guthix thing I was talking about before. So using the axe to cut the teak tree near Castle Wars, that being the highest level log that we can burn, I just chilled here and cut enough wood and burnt logs to get ourselves 50 fire making. That being high enough for both a Sapphire Lantern and the Tears of Guthix quest, but also the Wintertop minigame if we ever do decide to go give that a try later down the line. I don't think that'll be the best minigame for this account, because even if you don't open the crates, every game you play will be 1 crate in your inventory, so I don't really see us doing too much of that, but it is unlocked in case we decide to try. So after our fire making, we kept 4 teak logs just to do a birdhouse run with teak birdhouses this time. Sadly, I didn't check properly. You do need 34 hunter to make teak birdhouses, and we only ended this birdhouse run on 33. So what I did is I grabbed all the clockwork from the birdhouses we already had down, then I just kept the teak logs and the clockwork on us. Then we headed back to Lumbridge, we ran over to the Alcarid gem store and we grabbed a sapphire to make our sapphire lantern. We used our Kandarin Helm light source to light the way into Dorgish Khan. I wanted to get ourselves a bullseye lantern to make the sapphire lantern. I thought you could buy one from this stall, but it turns out you actually can't. You can only buy an empty one, which is worthless to us. So instead I just pickpocketed a goblin in the marketplace and got a bullseye lantern that way, which was kind of juicy. While we were down here, I grabbed ourselves the bone crossbow I talked about so much before, since we had got our range level up high enough at crabs to use it now, and a bunch of the cheap ammunition for it. So we swapped out the lantern lens with the sapphire and we went over to Tears of Guthix quest. Completed the quest, really easy. All you have to do is use your lantern on this thing, fly over here, mine a rock, and then the quest is complete. This unlocks a weekly minigame called Tears of Guthix, where you go inside this cave here, and you grab the blue juice off the wall and you avoid the green juice. There are methods to sort of sweat this. You can hop worlds to find an efficient world, and you can do certain patterns, but I don't care. I just click on the things that are blue and not the things that are green. In doing this, we got ourselves up to 21 Slayer, which was really, really nice with the XP. Every week you get a burst of XP depending on your performance in the cave, and it automatically goes into the lowest skill on your account. But I didn't really think about it on this first one, because really we need all our skills up at this stage of the game. So it went into Slayer, that's nice. So we needed 640 more Hunter XP in order to get the last level to place these teak birdhouses down. We couldn't in fact place them, we just had the level to craft them. So I went and poked some Larupias into some holes, using a stick from the Yanil Hunter store, just to get that tiny bit of XP for that extra level. And then we went back and actually put our birdhouses down so we could continue doing runs. Anyway, we went back to Guards and Cakes and we got that 50 thieving we were after before, unlocking the Rogue's Den, lockpicks, all that stuff. Now we had our bone crossbow, wanting to make the absolute most out of it as possible. Obviously we don't have the backpack that has a chance to save ammo. I will get that later down the line, but I do want to do the Ghosts Ahoy quest first, just because Animal Magnetism requires you to go over to Port Phasmatis, and I'd rather not pay the entrance fee every time I go over there. So we'll do that after Ghosts Ahoy. But yeah, just to make the most of the bone crossbow now, I decided to craft the best ranged bonus gear I could at this point. So we got ourselves some frog leather gear from a store while we were in Dorgish Khan. We just used some leather to craft a hard leather shield and a coif, just for that tiny little bit extra range bonus while we are ranging those crabs. We turned in 2 of our eggs from the birdhouse runs from the nests at the Woodcutting Guild for the prayer XP. Anyway, we grabbed ourselves a fresh cat. Each cat is something like 5 or 6k worth of magic XP if you use all the death runes you get just to cast spells, so it's really, really worth early game collecting as many cats as possible, even if it seems kind of tedious. So with our brand new cat in tow, we went to the newly unlocked Chaos Druid Tower just north of Ardy once again, and these guys have really, really low defense. It's just a nice place to just chill, get a little bit of ranged XP, but the main thing is you can also get some lore runes, which are always nice for teleporting around because they're really expensive to buy. So we did a little bit of Chaos Druids until our birdhouses were ready to collect, and then once they were ready to collect, we went over and did another birdhouse run and then moved our range training just to crabs for a little while. So I have just been training at Fossil Island crabs, getting a little bit of range and melee XP. We did manage to get up to 5 unidentified fossils in one go. Obviously on this account we're not allowed to use the fossil storage station, so that means if we do want to complete a fossil display, we do need to bring all 5 of one kind of fossil to the museum at once. Luckily you can go into the cleaning finds area at the back and clean them here as opposed to on Fossil Island, so we'll just do that real quick. If we just clean 5 small finds here at the table, and that should award us with a small XP lamp of some kind. These fossil displays are really helpful. Like I say, the only issue is it's not possible for us to store the fossils in the storage box because that's kind of against the account rules. But there we go, got ourselves a lamp. 2,000, wow! Straight to 25 herblore Renar weeds. Cool, yeah, so that's a lamp. Spent a long time at crabs that I didn't really record. Our ranged is all the way to 58. I decided our melee was kind of lagging a little bit behind, so off camera I went to get our rune skin back from the ZMI warriors. At this point we got our attack to 60, our strength to 54, and our defense up to 50. Also got our magic up to 55 from raising cats and using the magic XP from the death runes, which is really huge because obviously that gives you high alchemy on the account, so now we can turn items into more coins than low alch. More crab gains, we got our second lot of 5 small fossils. It is a pain to keep all these in the invent, but obviously that's the nature of the account. Cleaning these and turning these in gave us another 2k herblore lamp, so that took us from level 25 all the way up to level 27 herblore, which is really nice. We reclaimed our Lumbridge ring because this was another day, and we scooted back over to the ham storerooms for cash. We did decide to alch our rune skim at this point, just because it was the last amount of money we'd need just to cross over 100k threshold. We did pull a cut diamond as well from the ham storerooms, so I decided to use this and the 100k to get through the door in Xanaris to enter the market, and buy ourselves a dragon longsword to accelerate our melee training. And yes, maybe it turns out that the rune skim is better in terms of DPS than a dragon longsword, but for style points alone, man, I had to get one. You've caught us back again in the Enchanted Valley, as we sometimes seem to be, and finally got that Dr. Jekyll random. We've been holding on to a clean Irrit leaf for pretty much this entire episode, quite a few days of real time. Obviously, we were holding on to this just so we could get ourselves an agility potion from a Jekyll random for trading him this herb. We need the agility potion 4 in order to do Tybro One-Eye Trio quest, and if we didn't do this method to get it, we'd have to wait until we got something like 34 herb lore to be able to make our own. So that's cool, that's out the way. I did actually miss a Jekyll random before over at Crabs, but because we were in combat with 3 different crabs, I just couldn't click on him and cycle through his dialogue quick enough and he despawned. Anyway, we returned to ham storerooms, got ourselves a games neck from a sapphire necklace down here, just so we could quickly teleport over to Tears of Guthix to do this week's Tears of Guthix. And yes, it's already been a week since the last time we did it a few minutes ago on this video. While here, we grabbed ourselves a dig site pendant as well, so we scooted over to Alley to buy the cosmics and stuff that we need to enchant these. Then we headed over to Tears of Guthix. We only got ourselves 79 tears, but that did still equate to 2,200 Slayer experience, which pushed our Slayer up to 24, which is quite a nice level to say we've done something like 4 or 5 tasks on the account at this point. Speaking of Slayer tasks, I decided to finally make a dent on that dog task that I mentioned before was quite a long one. I did decide to just kill the dogs that are in Ardy inside this mansion, because you can shoot through the fence and they can't melee you back. On the way doing this task, our mage passed level 57, so we can use a Wizard's Mind Bomb to boost +3 to hit 60 to cast various spells like Charge Earth Orb, the God spells, and obviously Bones to Peaches once we've unlocked that one. Completing this entire task gave us 2,200 Slayer XP, which is the same as Tears of Guthix gave us, so that's kind of nice. Next, I decided to do a little bit of work on our agility off camera, so we just got ourselves up to level 56 after 38 laps here at Falador. This level is enough to do the Temple of the Eye shortcut down to the better Essence Mine at the start of the game, so when we do decide to play the Runecraft minigame, we can get more points per game by using this shortcut, so that's really helpful. Grabbed another tutorial task in Berthorpe. This time it was 27 cave crawlers, they're in the Fremnik Slayer cave, so just hung on to that task for a while. Went back to Crabs to train our strength with our D-Long, just getting ourselves up to 70 combat there. 70 combat means we can pick up Slayer tasks from Chaeldar down in the Lost City of Xanaris, which is really cool. Those are kind of actually decent Slayer tasks that award some proper points. But we're only 5 combat levels off Konar. We are 1080 total at the minute. 75 combat and doing Konar tasks are the most Slayer points possible, plus you have the ability to earn the Brimstone Keys, which have such a good UIM drop table, loads of noted materials we could unnote at a bank and do a bunch of skilling. So I really want to do some Konar tasks as soon as we can. Speaking of tasks, we went to Gramja to grab an anti-poison because we're going to do our cave crawler test from Toriel. So we finished the cave crawler task. That was actually our 6th task complete now. You only need to complete 5 before you start earning proper points. There's no real reason to do more than 5 at Toriel, and especially since now all our combat styles are at a level where we can do some damage. The next task I'm going to pick up is going to be from a real Slayer Master, so we can start earning reward points and buy some of the cool unlocks like Slayer Helm and stuff. So we went over to Matchzana, or whatever he's called here in Canifis, just because he tends to give tasks that are quite close to this region. A lot of them in the Slayer Tower, so we don't have to go too far. Unfortunately, he gave us 44 skeletons as opposed to something like crawling hands. Don't know where skeletons are at the minute, so I'm not going to do this for a while, but it's nice to just have a task in tow at all times. As you might remember in the previous episode, just before we completed the Fremnik Trials, we did Horror from the Deep up to the Dagonoth Queen boss. So what I did is I went back to the Lumbridge cellar, grabbed ourselves the bone crossbow again, went and bought an air staff, and we just need to make some space for some spell casts of each type. We need range gear and melee gear and food, and then we're going to go try and take on the boss of Horror from the Deep, the Dagonoth Queen. I alked our Addy Pick to make some space, alked our teleport necklaces because we don't need them right now, we need inventory space, and I just bought a couple of each elemental rune. We went over to the Brimhaven food shop where we go when things are getting serious to buy some food that isn't cakes, so we grabbed some Karambwins and swordfish. The first little Dagonoth that spawns just meleeed it, just because I don't really care about our health going down. As far as I'm aware, once you've killed this first one, you can leave to heal before having to fight the second part of this quest, which is the actual boss. Turned out to be a relatively easy fight with our death runes. Obviously, like I say, our combat stats are kind of in the 50 range now. We still didn't have the level to cast the fire spell with death runes, so whenever it went to being weak to fire, we just waited for that phase to switch. And also, I didn't do any damage during the melee phase because I just didn't want to walk into melee range with this guy. I didn't know how high he could hit, so I just waited out that phase as well. So we just blasted him with a couple of elemental spells and range when it was appropriate. You get a few little XP rewards from this quest, but none of them were worth 1 level up to us, so nothing of note there. But we did pick the Guthix book from the reward guy, just because we had this page on us from an easy clue. I didn't want to drop it, I just wanted to place it in the book. Obviously, placing pages in the book isn't storage. You need to place one of each page in the book for it to become functional, and you can't take the pages out again, so yeah. Next up was the Taibo One-Eye Trio quest, so I just went over to the farming guild here near Konar, and just went up the mountain. There's a steel spear available in this shop, which you need for the quest, and we grabbed ourselves a tinderbox on the way around just to do Taibo One-Eye Trio. So we help this village. There's like 3 brothers and you need to help them out. So we learn the secrets of fishing karambwans from this old fisherman, which we can actually do with our fishing level, which is surprising. Normally you do this quest relatively early on an account, and it's 65 fishing to actually fish these, which you rarely have at this stage. But obviously we did a lot of AFK fishing, so that's cool. Grabbed ourselves a rum and a banana for another part of the quest later down the line. We taught the secrets of fishing the karambwans to one of the brothers. We killed a Joker on the way through the dungeon because some guy wants its remains or something. And then we talked to the hunter brother and we turned in the steel spear and the agility potion. So that part of the quest's out of the way. Don't need to hang on to this potion anymore, so that's really, really nice. We gave this annoying guy across the bridge a monkey sandwich and his rum and banana or whatever. He's like the most annoying brother to get to come home, but eventually we convinced the annoying brother to come home. We teach the fisherman brother how to catch karambwans and craft the karambwan vessels, just to end the old man's monopoly on the octopuses or whatever. Then we turned in the quest. You get a load of cool rewards for this one. There's a raw karambwan shop that opens in the village, and you get some fishing XP. From talking to the second guy, we get some cooking XP. We learn how to properly cook karambwans so we can cook them into consumable food or into poison to put on our weapons. So that's really cool. And the XP reward from him pushed us up to a nice round 50 cooking, which is cool. We're also rewarded a free rune spear with karambwan poison on the end. Did just decide to sell or alch this, I can't remember. But the main reward really is the inventory slot back from our agility pot 4 that we've been carrying. And I guess by extension the cleaned Irrit leaf we've been carrying all episodes, so that's cool. Obviously, between other things, I've been trying to do a few birdhouse runs when I can be bothered. Just to show one off, here's kind of the route I've been using. We have been doing teaks for quite a while, so we just use the Castle Wars minigame telly on the minigame telly list here. We run over here to the one teak tree that's kind of accessible easily in the game. It's just out here west past these chompies. So yeah, we cut 4 teaks here on this peninsula. If we just check our hunter level now, we do have the hunter level for maple birdhouses, but our crafting level's lagging a bit behind to actually craft them. But once we have those, maples are more easily accessible than this one teak tree, so, and obviously they give more hunter XP each, so that'll be nice to move up to. Anyway, we run from here to the nearby fairy ring. We take this to DIS, which is the Wizard's Tower south of Draenor. Obviously we use this classic seed shop lady just to buy 40 seeds to fill 4 birdhouses with. If the invent's limited already bought out, then we have to hop. But that rarely happens. Then we tend to chronicle over to Varrock just because it's quite close to the Varrock General Store. We need to buy ourselves a hammer and a chisel in order to do this. And then normally we'll dig site pendant, but if we don't have one with any charges in it, we either walk from here or we teleport down to Lumbridge, run through the Alcarid Gate, take the glider up to the dig site, and then run to the dig site boat and walk from there. But yeah, if you do walk from Varrock, you have to go up and around quite close to the lumberyard. It's a bit of a trek. But yeah, if we had more kudos, we could get through this gate next to Varrock to make this trip a little bit shorter. But I guess we don't have that yet, so that's fine. While we're on Fossil Island, I'm hoping to get ourselves a 5th small fossil so we can turn all these in. Obviously, you can't turn fossils in until you have 5 of one type, and I don't want to drop 4. That just seems stupid, so I've been lugging these around everything we've been doing. So we're bringing 370 casts to these crabs, going to just mage them, starting at 57 mage. After maging for a while here, we got ourselves up to 59 mage, so we finally unlocked Fire Blast, which is really cool. That's the highest level spell that we can cast with our death runes to get the most XP out of them possible. Hey, back again, this time I'm out of runes, but I'm meleeing crabs, so we've got our attack up to 65. Switching over to strength now, for as long as we stay here. We're 62. If we get our strength also to 65, that means our attack and strength will add up to 130, which is what you need to get into the Warriors Guild. Quick maze random here, got ourselves some death runes and nature runes, always nice. And there it is, our 5th small fossil to hand in a collection of 5 small fossils all at once. Once again, going to turn those into a lamp to put into herblore, and that pushes our herblore up to 29. We've probably made something like 5 potions so far on this account, so that's a nice level to have already. Also, while here in the museum, I spoke to this lady in the entrance, just because once you've done some activities, you can talk to her and teach her stuff or something, and it gave us 42 mining. This isn't something I've really done before, but apparently, hey, free XP, it's free XP. For a while I've been looking around these 2 Taramin potions, so I'm going to go do Shades of Mort'ton to get rid of these. You don't actually need to bring these with you can make some on site, but just making sure we bring 2 Taramin pots kind of ensures that we have some serum doses on us to do the quest, so that's cool. So we got over here by teleporting to the fairy ring in the River South, just near the Nature's Grotto, and hopping over the agility shortcut. Obviously, when we fix the temple here, we're not allowed to use the plank sack or whatever it's called, the flamtail bag on this account, to store more limestone bricks in or whatever it is. So if we need to make multiple trips to fix the temple, we'll need to make multiple trips. Also, if we do decide to do the extra shades content, we're not going to be able to use the coffin from the lock guy, which you can fill with shade remains in order to carry and burn more in one trip. Gonna have to do it the old-fashioned way, but that's okay. Anyway, we had a whole ton of stuff in our inventory doing this quest, and you need a whole ton of stuff. To actually do it. You need a load of construction materials, you need this special hammer, you need swamp paste, you need bricks, you need beams. So there's quite a lot of juggling here. Plus, while you're trying to drop stuff, shades just randomly aggro you, which is really annoying. I guess they probably wouldn't if we were higher combat, but sadly they did. It was a little bit of a pain, but using the official world, and since they've updated the Shades minigame relatively recently, it's actually quite alive doing the temple segment, so it wasn't a problem restoring the temple. And other people were fighting the Shades to keep us safe, so it was kind of a lot more smooth than I expected, so that was chill. Once you do the quest, you can also grab this diary from this ruined house where you start and take it to the Varrock apothecary. It's kind of like a little Easter egg that you can turn in for some extra herblore XP. After doing all of that, quest reward and the diary turn-in, we got ourselves 31 herblore, and we got 44 crafting, so obviously you get some crafting XP for fixing the temple and stuff like that. So we're 1 crafting level off our maple birdhouses that I said before, but the main thing is our inventory's looking so clean. And with Shades of Mort'ton there complete, I'm going to call this episode over. We did a whole bunch in this one. Some nice gains in skilling, combat and questing. We got all our combats up to at least 59. Melee with 3 levels off the Warriors Guild, which is nice. We got ourselves an agility shortcut inside the Runecraft minigame, so now we can go back there with our new 41 plus mining and actually properly play that, because we'll have both the shortcut and the best pick we can currently use. We knocked out a whole bunch of stuff over on Korend. Of course, we did 3 different favours to 100% and 3 different quests over there. We did some Karamja quests, some Goblin quests, we unlocked bone weapons, we unlocked steel gloves because we did another RFD quest, we got ourselves a dragon longsword, we unlocked ourselves birdhouses, we've unlocked ourselves the rogue's den. Next time I'm going to try and work on farming, because we need at least 34 to unlock the tithe farm telly that'll help us. I'd like to work on construction, but obviously it's quite slow and expensive. Want to get 50 for some portals in that. And then we'll just work on whatever quests and diaries we can do. Obviously, ultimate goal being quest cape on this account. I think we're coming along quite nicely, so thanks for tuning in so far, guys. Another episode in the works. Any comments, hit them below. Otherwise, catch you in the next one. Bye.